vestibule, getting the pool started up. So we're going to go through how you start your pump up. So you always want to make sure your plug's in well with the turn lock. You want to make sure that turn lock is in good. Use the in-use cover, and then make sure you're bonded. And then the next step is you just come over and press start. If you want to change these programmings, here's how you change the programming on the pump. You just press step 1, and then you go up or down with how many hours you want it to run for. Press it again, and there's your RPM. So I like to start at 3,100 RPMs for 8 hours. Then I go to step 2. It's already programmed. So 8 hours, 2,850 RPM. Step 3, 8 hours, 2,600 RPM. So if we ever want to change that, simply you just go to one of the programs and then go up or down with that. Override, I usually set for 2 hours. That's like after a storm when we first start a pull up, 3,450 RPM. 2 hours at 3,450 RPM. So I'm going to start, go on override. So we have a valve here. So this is for the main drain. So if I want to turn the main drain off, I can slowly turn it off with everything running. We always want to go nice and slow, just like that, as if we were a valve actuator. Okay? That's main drain, skimmer, Venturi, return, and return. So the return, that's the wall fittings that come back in. And then on this pull, we use the swing jet fittings that do 20 gallons a minute downward. So if you come over here, you can see. So we get 20 gallons a minute, and we get a lot of movement there. So if you put your hand in front of one of our jets, you'll feel it feels like a garden hose. So we're pushing debris around the pool nicely. And then we have a debris handling main drain, Venturi skimmer. So our Venturi skimmer over here. So what this is doing, so this guy here has a little debris net. You can take that off. You just basically pull these out, take it off, rinse it out, and then you just put it back in. So it just goes right back through there, like that. And then down in here, if you look down in here, so we're in a Venturi skimmer. So basically we're skimming the pool without taking all the hot water off the top. It also, underneath there is a vacuum line, so you can take out this fitting over here. This fitting just pulls out, and then you can take it out, and then you can put a vacuum line through there. Okay, but we're just doing the skimming this way right now. So Venturi action, you want to make sure that this goes in, it goes all the way down, and then it sits down in, and it kind of turns and locks a little bit. If you don't turn it and lock it in, what'll happen is when you turn your pump off, it'll float up. So if you turn your pump off, it's a good idea just to look back. If you want to put the screws in, leave them here. So we'll get back to that. And then our debris handling main drain is right down here. So we can brush material into it, so it helps clean the pool. And then our lights in, and it's operating. When it gets dark out, that's going to be a really bright light for this pool. Okay, so we went over this. This is a multi-cyclone, so you can see all this debris that's coming in here. So anytime this is running, if I want to clean this, I just come in here. It's already on override. I would press override, and then so again, I just turn this valve very slowly, and then we basically clean without taking stuff apart. So that's your debris handling main drain. After the main drain, you got your UV light, so that kills all the bacteria that the target zero turns from biofilm into plankton. And that's how the chlorine-free pool system works by that. This is a debris handling main drain, and then what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to clean that. That's going to be basically the point to clean. So what I like to do is I turn the pump off. I like to make sure I'm not going to lose my prime, and I close both these valves. I open this up. Make sure my O-ring's good. Pull this out. Well, we caught some stuff today, didn't we? So it can all be rinsed out too. You put it back in. If you look in here, there's an arrow. The arrow goes to the red arrow, black to red arrow, to the stop. Open back up, start back up. We may have to refill this. Let's see if it pulls prime. Oh, it's already pulling prime. So we got some air in the system. Let's bleed that air out. Okay. I'm going to bleed out of the multi-cycle, and I'm going to bleed out of the top of the filter. Okay. I went back to overdrive, override to get everything cleaned up. So after our bacteria hits the UV light and it kills it, it turns it to little particles of sand. The dead bacteria actually looks like little particles of sand. That's why we need the pre-filter, and then we have the UV light. Then we have a sand filter, but we're not going to use sand because that's a really bad filtration system. We're going to actually use recycled glass. Now that recycled glass is lasting anywhere from 10 to 15 years based on how much you're using your pool. Most pools are open, you know, May to November, October. So with this, we're gonna backwash this. And we're gonna go through that. So right now we're at 20 pounds, and I'm sure we've already got some dirt in here. To drain any air out, you open this until all that air comes out. All right. So this one's all done. This one still has a little bit. Sometimes it takes a little time before that gets completely emptied. It's still safe to run though. So I'm going to go ahead and close it, and then we're going to backwash this filter. So I come back, press stop. Always wait till it completely stops before you turn this valve. If you turn this valve, you always turn clockwise. If you turn it the opposite way, there's a little spring in there. The spring will break. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So we always go clockwise, okay? And so I'm going to go to backwash. I'll go to backwash, come back, start, override, and then right over here, there's a sight valve. So what you're going to see is any debris is going to get backwashed. We're still looking here. I'm going to stop for now because I almost see a little bit of glass in there, so I'm just going to stop for now, let this filter run for a while. So I'm going to go back to rinse. Sometimes it takes a while to get everything packed into the filter, so because I see a little bit of glass in there, I'm just going to stop. We might not be able to get a bench line on this one. But now that we're on rinse, you see how quickly it cleans out? Because when you're backwashing, you're bringing everything back up, so everything that sat on the top of the filter bed comes out. Now we're rinsing like we would be filtering. So as soon as that's clear, we're good. So if you ever see that, you want to make sure that you stop backwashing and then go back later. So that looks good to me. I'm pressing stop. And now once it stops, I go to filter, back to filter, turn it back on, start, override. Okay, now we can set a bench here. As far as it's like 18 pounds. I'm going to say that this is still going to have to be backwashed to set another bench, you know, to set another PSI level. You set your PSI level at 3450 RPM. So that kind of tells you like, hey, my filter's dirty, it's time to clean it. So like on this one here now, I'm at 20 PSI. So when it gets up around 25 or 28, it needs to be backwashed, okay? And then it might reestablish a new bench line after that filter gets packed. So I would keep an eye on this today, and then once it gets up around 24, 25, let's try to backwash it. So again, we're never moving this unless the pump's off. Otherwise, this will get destroyed. That's going to be a few $100 repair. Okay, so we did a valve control on our heat pump, so we can control how much water goes through, and so we can make sure there's enough water going through here. We have a check valve to make sure that this water coming back doesn't go that way. and then we have a final check valve to see what our water flow is before it goes back to the pool. Okay. Now with the heat pump, so to turn this on, take your finger across, and then you go to mode, and then it's going to say heat set point, and then it should just go ahead and turn on. It does. There's always like a 2 or 3 minute cycle before it actually kicks on, and then you'll hear the compressor kick on and start heating water. So if you ever wanted to shut it off, you'd have to swipe your finger. If you been past a couple minutes, and then you'll have to come in and press mode off. All right, and then so you're only using this to adjust your flow. Like if this was on and you had this all the way open, as long as that's staying on, you could leave it all the way open. If you have to turn this like this, usually that's about where it is as you get into lower speeds. So the lower the speed, the more you'll have to have this open. I don't like to use a 3-way valve like a lot of guys do, because sometimes a customer will turn this off, which could explode the whole system. So it's just not a safe thing to do in a homeowner situation. And then other than that, same thing here. You really got to have your returns on all the time. You could turn your Venturi off, but if you turn your return off, you got 60 gallons a minute going through here. We only got 10 minutes. This is down to 10 gallons a minute on the Venturi. You could cause issues. Okay, so we want to make sure that you always leave your return on. If you're worried about it, take this off, and nobody can come up to the equipment pad, and I'm not going to get a phone call that says, hey, our equipment pad blew up. Why is that? So in this situation, I would give this to the homeowner and say leave it off. So now they can control the Venturi, they can control the skimmer, they control the main drain. So as far as that goes, should we do the same thing on the main drain if we're worried about it? Yes. If we're not worried about it, at least we had the conversation and we know that they're going to be safe with that.